baby! Woo! Right there, fishhuntshoot.com. Go big, baby. Go big or go home. Howdy guys, Kel Kellogg here. Welcome back to the FHS Fishing YouTube channel. If you're not already a subscriber and you like this kind of content, you like to learn, different ways to catch trout, how to catch more and bigger trout, please take a second, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification. You'll always know when I'm putting up new content and you'll really be helping this channel grow. And to all you folks who have already subscribed, thank you very much. Thank you for all the support. Couldn't do this without you. It's late July right now. I'm at a low elevation reservoir. I'm at about 1,200 feet and my surface temperature is 84 degrees. And I've had a lot of viewers request me to talk about temperature and trout fishing, water temperature and trout fishing. So let's do that right now as we wait for the first bite of the day. I've got my line down about 40 feet deep. I'm looking for dark marks. I might make an adjustment in depth, but we'll see what we see. So let's talk about the sweet spot in terms of temperature for rainbow trout and other species of trout. Rainbows feel really comfortable between about 65 degrees and 50 degrees. When the water gets below 50, the fish can get a little lethargic. And when the water gets above 65 degrees on a consistent basis on the surface, the fish start dropping down in the water column looking for cooler water. Typically, at least here in Northern California, we're going to have 65 degree or less surface temperature from late fall, mid-fall, through early spring to mid-spring, depending on the year. When you've got water temperature that's 65 degrees or below, I always assume that there are rainbow trout right under the surface, especially early in the day, late in the day, and anytime you've got surface chop. Remember, what you and I see as chop, the fish see as current. That's why a lot of times a bite can be very good when you're out in a fairly windy condition. You've got white caps and the trout are just biting really well. That's because they're seeing that as current, they're orienting in it. The chop is breaking up the surface. They feel comfortable under there. They don't feel like they can, become the victims of predators that easy. All of a sudden, they go from being potential prey to being the predators. So in that condition, you want to position your lures in the top 10 feet of the water column, troll fairly aggressively, and good things will usually happen. Now, when that surface temperature in the spring and late spring starts to climb consistently above 65 degrees, you're going to see the fish start to drop down in the water column. Now, there's some pretty sophisticated devices you can use on your downrigger to determine what the temperature is at any given depth. I'm not that concerned about that. What I do, like today, what I'm doing is I know the trout are going to be down somewhere from 40 to probably 60 feet deep with, an 84 degree surface temperature. I'm going to the deep water areas of the lake and I am actively looking for marks. If I see some marks down at 50, 60 feet, I'm pretty sure those are trout, so I'm going to adjust my downrigger accordingly. Now, if you're out and the water is cold, let's say you're out in the middle of winter and you get out on the lake, the water's 48 degrees, well, that typically means that you're going to have to slow down. You're going to have to deploy scents. Heck, if you really want to catch trout, you might have to anchor up and break out the bait. But usually, until the water gets down below 40 degrees, if you just slow your troll down, maybe integrate some night crawlers, use some soft plastics, use some scent, you're usually able to catch those fish. But it's more of a finesse bite. That's the dead winter trout fishing. It's a finesse thing. Likewise, right now, late July, it's also a finesse thing right now because the fish have dropped down in the water column and they are absolutely surrounded by bait. They've got everything they want down there. They've got cool water, they've got a good oxygen level, and they've got lots of feed. So they can be very tentative, they can be very picky. The bite windows can be small. Therefore, you know, in this condition, I'm not ripping around at 3 miles an hour. I'm using finesse baits, and by finesse baits, I mean baits like trout, tricks, worms, small spoons, smaller, you know, flies, something that puts off a lot of erratic action, a lot of vibration at a really slow speed. And that's the trick. Anytime you're finesse fishing for summer trout, you want a ton of action that stays right in the strike zone. When you're trying to finesse cold water trout, you want the same thing, but integrating real meat like threaded night crawlers and using the scent, using the Procure to make your lures smell and taste real, particularly when you're using a soft plastic, can really edge things in your favor. Final thoughts: no matter what depth the trout are at, it's always your goal to present your bait above those fish. You know, anywhere from 5 to 10 feet above the fish, depending on the clarity. Remember, trout are stream fish by nature. They want to feed up, so they like a bait presented above their head. And a final thought: remember, the most active trout will always be the fish that are up on the top of the biomass. If you're out in springtime and the surface temperature is 58 degrees, that means you want to be running your baits right under the surface, 3 feet deep. Maybe the fish are cruising at 10 or 12 feet deep. Maybe they're cruising at, 6, 7 feet deep even, but they want to see those baits above their head. They want to go up, grab them, and go back down. If it's midsummer and you're marking your fish, that you're marking the main biomass of fish 80 feet deep, the same principle applies. If the fish were 80 feet deep, the most of the fish, I would want to position my baits at 70, 75 feet deep because the most active trout, the trout most likely to chase, most likely to feed, are always the fish that are at the top of the biomass. Mull all that over, adhere to those principles, and I guarantee you are going to catch more and bigger fish throughout the season and throughout your fishing career. And some lakes you can target big fish, but at lakes where the fish feed on bait fish and stuff like that, where they're all feeding on the same thing, the best thing you can do to catch a really big trophy size fish is catch a lot of fish, because a small percentage of the total fish in the lake are big trophy size fish, and the way you're going to get one of those on the end of your line is catching more fish than your fellow anglers. The more fish you can catch, the better chance you have of hooking a trophy fish. I'm out of here for now. If you are looking for rods, reels, baits, flies, trout, tricks, worms, and more, you know where to go. FHSfishing.com. I'm Kel Kellogg, and I'll catch you next time right here on YouTube, guys. Thanks for all the support.